Hello and welcome to a day of no plans. And by that I mean I've got a day to myself. So I thought it'd be really nice for you to come on a sort of day in the life of one of those rare days I get where I haven't got to do anything for anyone else. I've not got to worry about feeding a lot of people, apart from dinner tonight, obviously. And I'm just having a bit of me time. So I thought you could come along. I'm going to start with something that not everybody loves, but I love. And I'll just take you through the day and you can enjoy what I get up to. First of all, I'm going to start with a spot of ironing. You probably know that I like to pre-wash my fabric, and I have a whole stack over here which I'm going to get through and iron, and I really like to do that as soon as I've washed it. I'm actually one of those sad people who quite likes ironing. I've got a film on in the background, so here I go. So the next thing I did on my day of freedom was to sort through fabric to see what I could take to the swap that I'm going to. That fabric I've decided is going to stay and be turned into a bag. So now I've done some sorting out, I think it's time to do some making. Hello and welcome to the next part of my day of just being able to do whatever I want, and now I'm on to some making. Now I don't know about the rest of you, but I will often sew with my dressing gown on, A, because it's snuggly, and B, because when I get to a certain stage of sewing I want to be trying it on and off, and this is easy to just take on and off. I don't know why I do it, I'm sure it'd be just as easy with other clothes on, but it's almost like a little habit I've got into now. Today what I want to try and make is a easy over the shoulder top, short sleeve. I made one last year before my breast reduction, and it doesn't look right anymore. I'll pop a picture here. It looked perfect last year. I made it in 2 different gingham colours, and now I'm a bit sad it doesn't work, so I want to cut out a new one, make some. I thought I could adjust those, but I just can't seem to work it out. So I'm going to make some new ones because they're just great to have, just like nice cotton tops. So here we go. I actually decided I wouldn't just put a picture in, I'd put it on to show you. So the shape is great. This one's a little bit loose, the other one's a little more snug, but look at that neckline, and I cannot see how to fix that. It works perfectly at the back, doing the same as well. Things I've learned a year on from making this is to stay stitch the neckline. This bias binding is what, as I've done it, is what stretched it out. So it might be better to do a facing or if I'm going to do a bias binding, I need to stay stitch the fabric first before I put that on. And I've also learned to have the same weight bias binding as fabric I'm using. Look at this, look, I cannot wear this, it's just too distressing. I just don't remember it being like that last year. Apart from that though, I think tucked in, it's exactly what I'm looking for. This one's a smidge too low as well, but I think in many other respects it is what I'm looking for. I think probably slightly nipped in a bit because obviously I'm a lot smaller here than I was last year. I'll show you the green one. So this one fits far better here and here and here, but again the neck has been stretched out, and what's even worse, I don't know if you can see it on the back, the bias binding isn't even attached here. Look, isn't even attached to the fabric correctly. It needs to be slightly higher, I think, so that I feel comfortable, and just a bit more V. So I think the neckline needs changing, but actually now I've put this back on, I put it on a few months ago, I was a bit sad. Now I've put it back on, I'm much happier in all other respects. If I tuck it in, you'll see what I mean. It's just a perfect tucked in summery top. I'm just going to pop a few pictures in of the two tops that I really like, that I kind of want to model it on as well. And once I get a pattern for this, I'm away. So welcome to the afternoon now of my free day. I will pop some pictures in now so you can see a few bits that I've been up to. These include cutting out my first ever lotta dress, which is using my own self-dyed fabric, and I'm planning to use the shearing tape for the waistband rather than elastic channel. A smaller Ogden cami, a top in the pattern I've made, and another top, and I made that based on a top that I was talking about earlier. Now what I'm going to do, it is why my fabric becomes a bit of a swirl. So if you've seen episode 13, you would see my tour of the sort of storage of my fabric, most of which I know, but it does become a bit swirly, and that's because of things like what I'm about to do now. So I'll pop a picture in here of a t-shirt dress I made last summer. So it's a thrifted t-shirt and then a piece of vintage fabric that I owned on the bottom, and it's a perfect throw on, comfy, cool, great for traveling, but makes me feel put together style dress. I have two other t-shirts which I'll show you now that I want to do this with. So I have this green one, which is a Carlsberg one, and I love this swirl on here. Beer today, better tomorrow, probably says on the back, quite ironic. But the green is great with this swirl, and I kind of like the irony of that. And then a blue one, which was my other half's and didn't want anymore. Actually, it looks great on me. It's a really nice, thick quality, super dry. And I like the fact that it's got this pocket here, so I think this will make a great one too. So it's deciding which fabric, and this is where things get in a mess. So I'm going to pop a picture in now of the pile of fabrics I've pulled out that I think might be potentials, and then it's trying to work out which ones go. So that's what I'm going to spend the next bit of time doing. Hopefully I'll put a bit of video in so you can see me working through my thought process. But I'm sort of surrounded by cutting out and scissors and pattern weights, and try to have a little tidy, so I put things in little pouches ready. But this is kind of my favourite kind of day where there's lots of thought process and the space to do that. It's now 3 p.m. I believe. Yes, it is. So I've still got time, but the day is starting to tick away. We are reaching the end of the day of my day in the life vlog. Didn't show you cooking dinner because it's just not why I'm here. But the reason I have my dressing gown back on, honestly, I did get dressed, is I've been dressed and out in the garden. I'll pop a few pictures in now. I love to garden, and you can see here I'm busy growing and planting my veg. I'm potting on some of my dahlias and cannas and having a little reshuffle of my pots, and yeah, lots of plants in pots, so I've been up to that. I did a huge amount of cutting out, and I've been to my sewing machine, and for the end of the day I'm now going to do a bit of trying on. I've got some vintage clothes that I'm sorting through that I need to decide if I want to sadly get rid of. It's quite hard with vintage clothes because once they're gone, they're gone. They're all very often one of a kind. You rarely see the same thing twice, and so it can be a little bit hard, and I have to try them on a couple of times sometimes to make that decision, and also to try on some of my makes. So I will pop in a couple of pictures here of a few of the things that I've made during my day. I've got lots of things over for the next day to carry on with, and lots of cutting out, and as you've seen, some mess to tidy up. But I hope you enjoyed my sort of window into a free day. I don't get them very often, but I really loved having a day and just doing the things that I love to do, which, if you've seen episode 13, is why things get in a swirly mess, because it's the way I creatively think about things. I hope you have a good rest of the week. Bye.